Enes Kanter Freedom.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Wow, this is a beautiful crowd. I love it.
Yeah, we so appreciate everyone being here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sitting down with me.
No, I got a lot of time, so I don't play basketball anymore. As you guys know, I don't play basketball anymore, so I got a lot of time in my hand.
Well, and you're putting it to good use. We are all familiar in this room. I didn't give a resume and a background because we're familiar with your incredible NBA career. We're familiar with your political activism. But if you could, go back a little bit further for me in your life. Your childhood, you were raised in an environment that was very anti-Western, very anti-American.
Right.
How did you become what you are now, given that that's how you were raised?
A quick story. So obviously, I grew up in Middle East. I born in Switzerland, but I live in Turkey. I grew up in Turkey. So I remember, if you're in Turkey, if you are, a politician, if you want to be elected again, you do two things. You attack America, you attack Israel. Unfortunately, the base is so uneducated and they believe whatever they see on TV or whatever they read on the news. So I'm a little kid, I went downstairs to play with my friends, and I remember what I seen that day just shocked me so bad. My little friends, they were not even teenagers. They were burning American flags. They were burning Israeli flags. They were actually breaking crosses. And I was like, guys, what are you doing? They said, well, that's what we see on TV. So they give me a flag to burn it, actually. So I took the flag. They give me a lighter. I looked at the flag and a lighter. I'm like, this is not the right way, So I threw it down and I ran upstairs to my mom. I was like, Mom, my friends are telling me to hate America. They're telling me to hate, Jewish people. They're telling me to hate Christians. What do I do? My mom said, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but do not hate anyone before you meet them. So that day, I give a promise to my mom. I promise I'm not going to.
I'm getting the chills.
I know. So and then 8 years later, I'm 17 years old. I came to America for the first time. I remember, one of my friends invited me for a dinner. She was American and Jewish, so she invited me a Thanksgiving dinner and Shabbat dinner. So before I went to a dinner, I called my Turkish friend who lives in America. I was like, listen, if you don't hear from me for the next 2 hours, call the police, So, because I just didn't know what to expect. But I went to their house. It was an amazing time, we had an amazing time. But then I got so emotional because when I was going back to my place, I was like, there are so many kids in the Middle East growing up anti-Semitic, anti-American, anti-West, just because of those politicians' hate speeches. So I was like, we gotta do something about it.
So you've played basketball.
Yeah.
All over the world.
Yes.
You have an incredible, my youngest sister plays college basketball.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, basketball, huge basketball fan. When was it that you realized that this sports trajectory was going to collide with some of these morals that you saw, whether it's anti-Americanism or anti-Semitism or this human rights abuse that we're seeing in China?
I think when you play basketball, obviously every kid in the world loves basketball or sports, so it does give you a huge platform to talk about whatever you want to talk about. So I was like, what? Let's just talk about some things that are bigger than basketball. So I think for me, whenever I wanted to, whenever I'm done with my career, I wanted to look back and I was like, how many people I inspire, especially the kids, how many hearts I touched or how many, lives I have changed. And I was like, let's just talk about some of the things that are important to not just only myself, but in the world. So that's why I started to talk about the dictatorship in Turkey. I started to talk about the dictatorship in China and many other ones, Iran, Russia, and stuff. And I was like, well, it is actually, people are like changing. Whenever I do a basketball camp for kids, they used to ask me, oh, who's the GOAT? Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant? Who is the best team? But now they're asking me about what's happening in Hong Kong, what's happening in Taiwan. Tell us about the freedom we have in America. So I was like, seeing the change, and it did give me so much hope.
I think that I speak for us all when I say that gives us all hope. Were you nervous about how your teammates and how the executives in the NBA would react when you started engaging in political activism. That is counter to the financial interests of those organizations.
You know, like 3 years ago, I'm sure you guys followed it very closely. When we were in the NBA bubble, it was all about social justice for NBA. They said, we are more than athletes, we are more than, you know, a basketball organization, so let's just, you know, talk about some of the things. And even like they put all this like BLM logos on the floor, they put phrases behind our jersey, which was controlled by the NBA. We couldn't pick what we wanted to pick, you know? So, and then I was seeing the hypocrisy because they will care about social justice until it hits their pocket. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go out there and just literally expose the whole system. So I was like, you know what? Let's just talk about, you know, China. And I started to talk about China, and what I did was so interesting. I'm sure you love shoes. Everyone here loves shoes, right? So even when I was a kid, whenever I watched an NBA game, I could care less about the basketball game. I was just watching the shoes. So the next day I can wake up and tell my dad, please buy those shoes for me, you know? So I was like, let's reach out to these artists around the world, which has been oppressed by their governments. You know, let's come up with this, you know, shoes which has no slave labor, you know, and I'm just gonna put that on my shoes and go out there and play basketball. How simple is that, you know? So I was playing for the Celtics, and our first game was against New York Knicks. I'm not sure if you guys have the Knicks fans here or not. But
they're waiting to see how the story turns out before they decide whether they're fans.
So the first game was against the Knicks. I put the shoes on. It was saying free Tibet, nothing crazy. I went out there and played basketball. Before the game, a minute before the game, the two gentlemen from the NBA came to me and said, take your shoes off. And I'm like, excuse me? They're like, you gotta take your shoes off because your shoes has been getting so much attention. It was from China. It was the perfect moment for me, because I was just getting ready for my citizenship test, right? So I closed my eyes, I was like, okay, there are 27 amendments, my first amendment, freedom of speech. I was like, no, I'm not taking them off, you know? So, in halftime, they didn't even wait for the whole game to end. In halftime, China banned every Celtics game in television. In halftime, think about it. In halftime. And then after the game, one of my teammates walked up to me and said, you know, this is your last year in the NBA, right? You're not gonna play basketball ever again. There's two things. You criticize China, you criticize Nike, you will not be able to play basketball ever again in this league. And that pretty much happened, you know, in February, boom, I was gone.
And you think that's why?
Yeah, of course, 100%. Many people, I mean, I talk to so many people. I'm 30 years old, I'm healthy, I could have played another 5 years. The year before that, actually, I averaged double-double. I'm sure there are lots of basketball fans here. They know what double-double is. So there you go. So yeah, so I'm out of a job.
Was it worth it?
You know, looking back, it is worth it because I just couldn't go to sleep at night while I know on the other side of the ocean there are 2-3 million Muslims are in concentration camps getting tortured and raped every day. You look at the Tibetans, you look at what Hong Kongers are going through, you look at Taiwanese people, Mongolians, Falun Gongs, and I can just go on and on. Forget about China, you look at Iran, you look at Russia. I mean, there are so many problems, and I was like, this platform is given me by God, so just why don't you just use it to do the God's work, you know?
Yeah, your story is amazing. I do want to ask you about your teammates' reaction, not just the one teammate who said that, because that's just an observation and perhaps an accurate observation. Inside the NBA on these teams, did you get support for people who were just keeping their support quiet, or what was the general reaction?
So it was the perfect moment because it was right before the Beijing Olympics. In Winter Olympics. So I literally try to reach out to everyone. Forget about my teammates, forget about NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL. Forget about that. I try to reach out to Olympians. They all said the same thing. They were like, listen, I think we love you. I think what you're doing is so amazing, so inspirational. We support you, but we just cannot do it out loud. I asked them why. They said, well, we have shoe deals, endorsement deals, we have jersey sales. We want to get another contract. I asked them one simple question. I was like, put yourself in their shoes. If your mother, if your sister, if your daughter was in those concentration camps getting tortured and raped every day, would you still stay silent? They usually turn around and leave the room, you know? But what breaks my heart is when it comes to America, they criticize like crazy. I remember sitting in the locker room and I seen all my teammates, they're saying America is this, America is that, America is horrible, blah, blah. I was like, season is about to be over. So when the season is over, let me buy your ticket. And let's just go to some of these countries out there, like China, like Russia, like Iran, like North Korea, like Venezuela, like Cuba, and I can just go on and on. I know we only have like a minute and a half left. So anyway, I was like, let me see if you guys can even criticize or say anything or tweet or anything about the government. You'll be, and your family members will be in torture and rape. So they just don't know any better.
It's chilling to hear the inside of it. We all are familiar with watching this play out from a distance, but to hear the story. So now you've dedicated this part of your career to activism, for human rights activism. If you had to name one thing one policy agenda that is your priority, what would that be?
I will just say I'm not a politician. I don't know a lot of bills or agendas and stuff. I just hope that just people can have some empathy in their heart, because once you put yourself in their shoes, people, what they're going through on the other side of the ocean, on Middle East or China, whatever, there's no way that you can pick anything but your morals, values, and principles. I just hope that people can have that, because this is bigger than basketball, bigger than NBA, bigger than myself, bigger than everything that I have done so far. You're trying to be the voice of all those innocent people out there who don't have a voice. I mean, people keep talking about my career, losing my career, whatever. I try to stand up for the things that are happening in Turkey, and I haven't seen my family almost 10 years now, And my dad was in jail just because I talk about the human rights violations and political prisoners. I don't even talk about politics because that is not my job. I talk about human rights. Everyone should care about it. So I just hope that people can have some empathy in their heart.
Do you have any message now that you are separated from the NBA? Do you have any message to the NBA?
I mean, there are so many players who has a huge platform, and so many kids out there are idolizing them and following their footsteps, right? So we just keep talking about our future. If we want to have a better and brighter future, we have to educate our kids and we have to inspire them. And God giving you this talent to inspire millions of kids, not only in America, but around the world. So my message will be just stand for what's right, even if it means sacrificing everything you have, because you are literally impacting our kids and that is impacting our future. So.
Amen to that. Ladies and gentlemen, Enes Kanter Freedom.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Of course, no. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. It was so good.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. That's it, right?
Yes.